Hi everybody, it's Cheyenne and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be about discussing a CDA versus an Efda and then versus an RDA. So a CDA is a Certified Dental Assistant, an Efda is Expanded Functions Dental Assistant, and an RDA is a Registered Dental Assistant. So these are all different certifications depending on your state. Some states, they just have RDAs, that's what they prefer. CDAs is what they prefer. Some states, you can just be a dental assistant, a DA. These are just all different certifications. I'm gonna kind of explain them. And this video actually came about because I had an interesting conversation with a hygienist that I work with. We were talking about a CDA and how important it used to be, but how now it's not so important, and or she feels it's not very important. Well, actually, she feels that it is important, but most offices within Oregon, at least, don't find it very valuable anymore. And she explained the reasoning why to me. Now, she's been a dental assistant when she very first started in the field, and now she's a dental hygienist. But I wanted to go over that conversation with you guys because I did find it quite interesting. I have my Efda and I have my CDA. Now, I know in other states, you are called a registered dental assistant. Like California, you're called an RDA. So I'm going to mainly focus on Efda and CDA because that's what I'm most familiar with. And if you are an RDA, please leave some comments down below. I'm not quite sure if that means you have your Efda and stuff. I'm assuming it does, but I'm not quite sure what the difference is. I just know that in some states you are called a registered dental assistant instead of a certified dental assistant. Maybe not. Maybe I have it wrong. So I'm just going to explain, of course, I live in Oregon, so I'm going to explain how I view these things, okay? So when I first started out, of course, I was just a dental assistant. And then I went and got my Efda certification. So Efda is Expanded Functions Dental Assistant. So that means you can do a little bit more than your average dental assistant. You are certified to do temporary crowns, and then now you can pack cord with another certification, soft relines, dental sealants, and a regular dental assistant doesn't have the certifications to do that. Now, a CDA is a Certified Dental Assistant. I have met a few girls that I've worked with that have their CDA, and basically they graduated from an accredited program. So that means, to my knowledge, that they are nationally certified. Not in the state that they work in, they're certified within the United States to do dental assisting. So a lot of the girls that I know of around here that have their CDA went to a program in another state. So they are certified through didnt, okay? Nationally certified. Now, if you are an Efda or a DA, you're just certified within the state of Oregon. So the reason I got my CDA is because my husband and I had talked about moving to another state. And when I looked into that state's regulations versus my regulations, and I talked to the Oregon Board of Dentistry and didnt, they had said the best thing for me to do is to get my CDA, because when you are nationally certified, it's a lot easier to transfer your licenses. And they usually send you like a little packet and you fill it out, and then you're able to get licensed in another state because you're nationally certified, not just certified within your state. It's a little confusing. So now I have my CDA. And what kind of brought this all up is when I got my CDA, which I did the test through didnt, I went to my office manager, I let him know. He kind of honestly looked confused. He really didn't know the difference. But he basically asked me if that gives me other things that I'm able to do within the office. And I told him no, that it just means that I'm nationally certified and that I have to do continuing education. So to keep your CDA, I believe it's 14 credits. I have to do 14 credits of continuing education a year. So of course that costs money, that costs me money. I also have to pay for the license. So I think it's like $40 every 2 years. It's not very much compared to like a dental hygienist license or a dentist license, but usually your companies, they reimburse dental hygienist or dentist for their licensing. But for CDAs, I haven't heard of any company paying for that license for you, even though it is fairly cheap. So that's another issue. But anyways, so I have to do continuing education every year. So if you are a regular dental assistant or an Efda, you do not have to do continuing education. So you are just certified for as long as you're certified. You don't have to learn, you know, of course you're gonna learn things new within the office, but as a CDA, I have to do continuing education. I have to submit those hours in order to keep my CDA license. And I was hoping to get some kind of raise out of it, but I didn't get one. And I was kind of shocked, honestly, because I have to do continuing education. It costs me money every year to obtain this license. I was surprised by that, but I was like, okay, you know, I guess, yeah, it's not really valuable to them because there's not anything extra I can do within the office. So I let it go. And that was probably a year and a half ago. And then a couple weeks ago, I had a conversation with my friend that's the hygienist, and she used to be a dental assistant. She said when she first started out as a hygienist, you had to have your CDA to be a assistant. And a hygienist and an assistant, their wages were quite comparable. That a hygienist made probably a couple hours or a couple dollars more an hour, and that their license was reimbursed for. But they did all their continuing ed classes together. They had classes together in community college or whatever college they went to for their program. And then it kind of segregated. It pulled hygienist up, and then it left the dental assistants down because a dentist or whatever, the dental board, decided to make this extra certification called an Efda. So it pulled the assistant from a CDA to get their Efda, and once you obtained your Efda, you didn't have to do continuing education anymore. So a lot of assistants would drop their CDA and just do their Efda, and with creating this Efda, it provided a way for them to have the assistant do so much more than just assisting the dentist. They had all these other responsibilities they could do, so much more they could do within the office, and it did make them valuable, but it took away the reason of why they should get more pay, because you're not doing continuing education. And it kind of segregated the hygienist from the assistant. And of course, a hygienist goes to more school and everything. I'm not trying to compare the two, because yes, a hygienist of course went to school longer than I did. They received more education. I'm not trying to compare the two. This is a conversation I had with somebody that I thought was interesting. Pulled the dental hygienist away from the dental assistant. They no longer did group classes or continuing education together. So the dental hygienist was able to get a higher wage. So over the years, the Efda kind of dropped in wages, and the dental hygienist was able to climb up and get more and more money because they had a reason to. They had licenses, they have to do continuing education, and the assistant kind of fell behind because they didn't have to do continuing education anymore. Even though they were doing all these extra things within the office, they didn't have to keep up the same regulations as like a hygienist or a dentist, so they kind of dropped. So I just thought that was interesting that she thinks that's what kind of affected dental assisting and why our wages hasn't grown as much as the dental hygienist. And then we started talking about restorative licensing and how she feels that only CDAs should be able to do restorative because they have to do continuing education, and how it's not fair to a dental hygienist who does restorative to get the restorative license that they have to do continuing education. But then if an Efda were to do their restorative license, does that mean that they don't have to do continuing education? I don't know. It opened up a whole conversation. So I just thought it was interesting, and I wanted to talk to you guys about it. I'm curious to hear if you feel the same way. And someone that has their CDA, I kind of feel like most offices don't find it very valuable because they feel that the Efda is the most valuable. And we have little name tags at my work, and it says Efda or dental assistant. And when I spoke to my manager about it, I was like, so is mine gonna say CDA now? And he said that he would reach out to, you know, the company and see. And they responded with no, that it's going to say Efda because they find that that's the higher license. But in the dental field, it's really not the higher license. The CDA is the higher license. So it's interesting to me that we're kind of losing the CDA. And it was interesting to me that a hygienist found that the Efda license is what really kind of ruined the assistant getting paid higher. For my years of assisting, I have noticed that there are certain hygienists that treat assistants a certain way. Not all, just some. But I didn't really see that until I started uploading videos on YouTube. If I get any bad emails, it's usually from hygienists, and they are very offended that I don't want to be a dental hygienist, and they're offended that they feel like I'm discrediting what they do. And I'm not. I'm just proud to be a dental assistant, and I like to give a voice to the dental assistants. I feel that we all work very hard, and I do feel sometimes that we can be mistreated with our wage or other benefits that, you know, dental hygienists or dentists do receive. And I'm not saying it's their fault. I feel that it's something within the dental board. They're okay with giving us all these extra tasks to do and saying that, oh, an assistant can do this, an assistant can do that, or an Efda can do this, and an Efda can do that, but they're not giving us a higher wage. And I do feel that we are underpaid for as much as we do. And on the positive side of that, I love being a dental assistant because I get to do so much. There's so much that we do, it's insane, and not a lot of people know that. So my whole point of this channel is to give knowledge to dental assisting and just to be a voice for dental assistants, because I feel that we need that. I feel that we're looked over a lot of the time. We're kind of looked at as like, oh, why didn't you go be a dental hygienist? Or why didn't you be a dentist? Like, you're being lazy by not being a hygienist or a dentist. And believe me, we're the least lazy, okay? We do so much. And that's why I love it. But it also is interesting to look at, you know, is the Efda license something that affected dental assisting? Did it really affect how much we're getting paid? I don't know. I found it very interesting, so I kind of want to share that with you guys. It also is a little confusing because all the licenses. But yeah, I thought it was an interesting conversation. So comment down below, let me know how you feel about all the licenses, what your take on it is. And once again, I'm not discrediting dental hygienists. I have lots of friends that are dental hygienists. I think they work extremely hard as well. It's a different type of work though. Everyone works hard within a dental office. I just think dental assistants don't get a lot of recognition that they need. Dental assistants do a lot of work, and I feel like it is discredited a lot of the time because we're not labeled as a provider. But yeah, that's my opinion. But yeah, so I wanted to have this little conversation with you guys about all of that. And I hope it made sense because it was kind of a lot in one conversation. But yeah, let me know how you guys feel. Do you feel like the Efda license kind of ruined it for dental assistants? What is your state regulations? And if you are interested in getting your CDA, basically you go on to Danby and you can sign up for the test. And then you get your CDA license. And I've heard it does make it a lot easier if you are moving to another state or transferring to another state, or if you happen to work in another state or whatever it may be. But yeah. All right, guys. Well, thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.